If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. This is just absolutely sickening. This is the kind of stuff that gets my blood boiling beyond belief. Hearing stories like this and then seeing how little time these people spend in jail. And this shouldn't surprise anybody that a Brooklyn rabbi has been charged with teen sex assault. And you know what his punishment is for the crime? 60 days in jail. 60 days in prison. People go away for years for the smallest of crimes, including not paying their taxes. 60 days for molesting and sexually assaulting various little boys. Surprised? You shouldn't be, because these courts have been set up to protect these Zionist frauds who claim to be Jewish when they're not. I'll read you the article. A Brooklyn rabbi charged with sexually abusing 4 teenage boys in a hotel was sentenced to just 60 days in jail and 6 years of probation. So pretty much sentenced to nothing. He's getting a 2-month vacation. 60 days? Give me a break. Yoel Malik, 33 years old. No surprise there that he's 33 years old. A member of the Satmar Hasidic sect was given the generous plea deal after the victims were extremely reluctant to testify publicly, according to a law enforcement source familiar with the case. And this is what they do. They use fear. They scare these children. That's what they did in McMartin. That's what they do in a lot of these child abuse cases. They use fear to scare them into testifying, as well as shaming them and embarrassment, because they're embarrassed to come forward after being involved in something like this. They don't want to get made fun of. It's something they don't want to talk about. They don't feel comfortable talking about it, even though they know that this occurred. But it's just another way to get this guy off the hook. But wait, it gets worse. In 2013, Malik was charged with 28 criminal counts and shamelessly blamed his underage victims for trying to seduce him. So he blamed these children who he molested in a hotel. He blamed them for trying to seduce him. That's how low this is. Are you kidding me? And people buy this stuff? Yeah, a bunch of little teens are trying to seduce this weird-looking Zionist creep. It says the boys were all students at Or Hamir, a now shuttered Satmar Yeshiva in Borough Park. The alleged victims were between 13 and 16 when the incidents occurred. So between 13 and 16-year-old boys. The rabbi was accused of groping all 4 boys in motels, prosecutors said after his arrest. The twisted teacher also allegedly forced 2 of the boys to perform oral sex on him. Let me repeat. Oral sex. He forced 2 of the boys to perform oral sex on him, and he's getting 60 days in prison. It goes on to say that one of the victims was also forced to perform oral sex on Malik inside his car parked near a cemetery on a separate occasion, according to prosecutors. In 2014, he pleaded guilty to a felony luring a child and a misdemeanor count of sexual misconduct. So obviously this guy has a track record of luring children, of molesting children, of forcefully molesting children, forcing them to give him oral sex, which is technically rape, okay? Forcing it on a young 13-year-old boy. Over the past 2 years, he completed a series of probation requirements, including a sex offender class and staying away from children, court records show. As part of the deal, the felony was dismissed upon completion of probation supervision. On Tuesday, he was sent to Rikers Island for 60 days for the misdemeanor offense. This is the world we live in. No big deal, right? No big deal. Just, molesting young boys as a teacher, as a rabbi. If this was a priest, of course, because they remember now, these priests, these Catholic priests, they're all part of these same secret societies. It's a front. They're not really Christians, the majority of them. Just like these rabbis are fronting as, being Jews, being real Jews when they're not. We know in the Talmud how it approves that rabbis are allowed to do this to young boys, how they're allowed to do this to young children. It applauds it in the Talmud. And that's why I go crazy about people who are protecting the fake Jews and the synagogue of Satan, because their own teachings in their temple promote this stuff and encourage it. Yet if this was in the Bible, we'd all be killed. We'd be run out of the country. It's hidden, and they use anti-Semitism as a front to get away with this stuff. Oh, don't question the rabbi. You're anti-Semitic. Call for an Uprising is anti-Semitic because he's calling out the teachings in their books. You can't even call it out. You know how many messages I've got? You're an anti-Semite. I'm unsubscribing. You don't know about Jesus was Jewish. What are you talking about? People that just don't have a clue about what's going on, that don't understand when the Bible references fake Jews and the synagogue of Satan, that those who claim to be Jews and are not, how this is cloaked under the mystery religions, how this all goes back to Babylon and the teachings that went on there when the Jews came to Babylon. They adopted this. They claimed it was the written oral law. What this is the mystery religions. It is an evil, disgusting book. And we have rabbis who are getting off the hook for molesting and targeting children. This guy's just luring children. This isn't a one-time thing. Even if it was a one-time thing, he should be locked up for a long time, if not forever. Multiple counts of luring, multiple counts of molestation, multiple children, and he gets 60 days. Now, don't pay your taxes or accidentally fudge numbers on your taxes and get audited. You can go to jail for a couple of years. Unbelievable, this world. Unbelievable how people aren't demanding that stuff like this stop. The article goes on to say, advocates for child sex abuse victims question the deal. What D.A. Thompson has done is inexplicable, said Ben Hirsch, a spokesman for Survivors for Justice. Through unexplained plea deals such as this, he has effectively quashed any willingness on the part of the victims to come forward. Malik's lawyer, Roger Adler, said sarcastically, I will concede he wasn't burnt at the stake. He wasn't stoned running through the village. It's a significant punishment when any first-time offender gets sentenced to jail, he added. This is what his lawyer said. It's a significant punishment when a first-time offender gets sentenced to jail. First of all, he's not a first-time offender. He's been charged with luring children in the past. But of course, he's got a Jewish lawyer who has his back, who defends this kind of stuff, probably because he partakes in it. Probably because he partakes in it. Now, what quotes does the Talmud say about sex with minors? Should we read? Sanhedrin 54b. A Jew may have sex with a child as long as the child is less than 9 years old. That's just one of many quotes inside of the Talmud that endorses pedophilia. Here's another one. When a grown-up man has intercourse with a girl, it is nothing. Yebamah 59b. A woman who had intercourse with a beast is eligible to marry a Jewish priest. A woman who has sex with a demon is also eligible to marry a Jewish priest. You know, these are just normal things inside their temples that they're reading and pushing, these fake Jews. It says, Yebamah 98a. All Gentile children are animals. That would be Christian children. We're Gentiles. We're Goy. Baba Kama 113a. Jews may use lies to circumvent a Gentile. When a Jew murders a Gentile, there will be no death penalty. What a Jew steals from a Gentile, he may keep. These are just, some things that are in their book. There's so much more, though. You want to talk about how they feel about Christians? Anybody bothered by quotes like this? Shabbath 116a. Jews must destroy the books of the Christians, i.e. the New Testament. Sanhedrin 43a. Christ practiced sorcery and enticed Israel to apostasy. Gideon 57a. Jesus is in hell, being boiled in hot excrement. In other words, feces. This is the stuff inside their book. So it shouldn't surprise anyone that the rabbi is getting off the hook, because the court systems have been set up to protect them. The Jew, the fake Jew. So don't be fooled by anti-Semitism, because they created it as a front so that you can't ask questions about their books and what they teach. Because if you do, you're immediately dismissed with a trigger word called anti-Semitism. Go up to a rabbi and say, what is this in your Talmud? I can't deal with your anti-Semite, teach. Oh, you're just anti-Semitic. Oh, yeah? And you're pedophiles. This is stuff you're teaching? Talks more about how the courts are set up to make sure Jews always win over Goy, over Gentile. I mean, it's unbelievable what's in there. Now we have this creep walking the streets in 60 days after already molesting young boys, targeting young boys, luring them into his car, and he gets nothing for it. Nothing. You know, I've read things before that if you spit on someone, you can go to jail because it can be deemed assault, and you can go to jail for a year, 2 years for spitting on someone. This is molestation, child abuse, pedophilia, 60 days. People should be in an uproar over it, but you know what they do? They bury it under the rug. This is in the Daily News, which I'm surprised they even put it in the Daily News. For whatever reason, they put it out there. Probably just to rub it in our faces and mock us because they know they can get away with this stuff and no one will say boo. So this is Rabbi Malik, who gets, at the age of 33, how significant that is, happens when he's 33, gets 60 days in jail despite being charged with 28 criminal counts and then shamelessly blaming his underage victims for trying to seduce him. What a disgrace. This legal system is as corrupt as it gets. And like I said many times over, it has been set up and created to protect them, not to protect us. And it should make everybody out there sick to their stomach. Give me a break. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.